Oh, what's going to be our final question before we go?
I can just start a timer.
Who do we think's going to win Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh.
No one.
Son of a bitch. No.
Well, we don't have to give anything away.
No.
We can just say, who do
No.
we think?
I think
I'm good with it.
I think maybe what fandom would you replicate in your basement?
Oh, if you could.
No one's going to see this. I don't know what you before Games of Thrones.
Yeah, but she hasn't seen it.
No,
Yeah.
because I'm
well,
waiting to
I've got
binge
all
that.
sorts of theories I was going to provide
No.
None for you.
Nope.
Where's the knife?
See, yeah, Charles, this is a good way to get stabbed.
Yeah, well, thank you for removing
There was
the knife.
remembering. I said there is no prediction, only a warning.
Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Okay, well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Jenna.
Charles. John.
And I'm Seth.
And this is a special After Dark edition of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast, so it's hard to tell what might happen here tonight.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to be good. We took all the knives away from Jenna. We got them out of her reach. So we weren't quite ready to have Charles's head in a box.
But Charles has this.
Charles wasn't
He
ready to
can
have his
save
head in the
himself.
But
box.
I like Charles.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we didn't really want you wearing John's skin
Nice.
the rest of the night.
What I do in the name of my ancestors is my own business.
I mean, you can't doubt Jenna's craftsmanship. She
Oh,
would
no.
make something beautiful.
I'm sure
my
it would be.
ancestors are Irish. You're doing what my ancestors did.
So, so this week we're going to talk about the fascinating trip we took up to Lyons, Nebraska, and we met with Bill Hedges, who has a studio. He bought an old abandoned movie studio, a theater, and converted it into a movie studio called Cosmic Film Studio, and he's filming a a series that is on YouTube called Cosmic Cat. And it's about the adventures of him. His character is called Will. Easy to remember because his name is Bill.
Is there a last name?
Maybe Will Hedges. I don't know.
All right.
We'll find out.
And so it begins.
Dang it!
Don't even need that, man.
Go ahead and give him his hammer erection.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
Oh God. I need
So-
noodles.
Fix
Yes.
your mic.
Oh my!
Yes.
My mic is exposed. I must cover it now.
There
Yes,
isn't
So,
enough whiskey in this house.
So the Cosmic Cat series. So Will, and it stars his cat Penny, he's crafted some.
The war plans are coming through. If you can all hear that in the
Turn those
background.
off.
What was that?
That was the White House signaling
I know,
war
it's
with
like
Iran. I
Morse
guess. I don't know.
code? Are the aliens attacking?
The
Does
Isle-
the UN need
It's
to send-
Independence Day.
The
That's
Isle,
what
the
it is.
Isle of Man is calling.
Never mind,
Better
Jenna.
talk to them
It's
over
not
there.
important.
Yeah.
You were
It's
never
not
here tonight.
important.
What message?
So he's filming this series. It's about the adventures of him and his cat in outer space, and
Cat Penny.
The Penny
Yeah.
Kitty.
the Penny,
Yes.
and it's pretty good. We've seen. Well, the first one's publicly released. Everybody can get to it. The second episode is out. I think all of us have seen it, and it's good. Our friend Katie Otten was hired or offered to act in the film and
Friend
did a
of
great
the show,
job.
Katie on.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, but I
And,
have to ask, Katie, is she a cousin? Because, you guys have the same hair and okay. I saw her picture and she reminded me a lot of you.
Of
Okay.
Katie.
Yeah.
Two Katies. Yeah, could be.
Not because it's Katie and Katie, but just because they kind of look alike structurally.
Interesting. So anyway, I'm interested. So this was the first exposure of Jenna and Seth and Charles. You
I
didn't make it.
No.
To Bill Hedges' place, and so I'm interested in what you thought. And I want to make a little side mention there that this was their first trip up to Lyons, Nebraska to meet with Bill Hedges.
Yeah.
And so they didn't know anything about him. And all the way up, they kind of joked about, are you taking us to our death?
I mean, joke. There, you say joked, but
There was
But-
some
I
definite
mean-
concern.
I mean, no.
there's been a lot of talk around here about heads in boxes and mad science.
Yes,
and
right.
You are kind of a mad scientist taking us up to a place we've never been before.
Right.
And
Where-
and to be honest, that does make actually a pretty funny slash interesting slash viable B movie
Well, the
Plot.
first place plot of like first person camera. A podcast is going up there to shoot a film, and
Yeah.
they end up becoming props.
Yeah, permanent props.
Yeah.
Props
Yeah.
in this sci-fi studio in the middle of a small town nowhere.
I mean, I very
but-
purposefully
I mean-
didn't wear a red shirt that day.
but I mean, to look at the house, it does not take away from that base motel.
No.
feel.
No, it
And-
looks
and you're
very
just
Bates
like-
Motelish.
You
the
go in
home.
and it's like, yeah, this is great, this is great, and then
Yeah.
the nice man opens up a hole in the floor, and you just like,
Well,
ah,
so
To
he's
be
got-
fair,
he's
it was
got-
behind a bookshelf, a
Right.
secret bookshelf.
How does that make
secret
it better?
bookshelf slides
Because it was
out.
How
neat.
does that make it? How does
It
that?
was
Right.
neat.
Okay, so
And
we
there's a
should
trap
probably
door.
explain.
I'm a human centipede now, but that's neat. I'm so glad that I jumped down that hole.
First,
Yeah.
you.
So,
Second,
so we get there, and we mentioned that Bill Hedges has this secret passageway behind a bookshelf in his mother's bedroom
that leads to
that
the
leads to the
basement.
basement. And first thing is, Jenna's like, "What? Really? Let me in! I gotta try this."
Yeah, he pulls the book that releases the door, and up to this point, like Jen has been like, "You have to watch me." I don't want to do anything stupid.
No.
And then her very first instinct, just like that smile on her face right
Yes.
there.
And you talk
the
about
door
your
falls
Aztec
away,
nature.
and she's just like down that hole.
I
and
told you my whiteness came out.
And
That's
I-
in every horror movie that gets the leader killed.
And-
Right.
You proved
and I'm
to
like,
us that you were a primate. You just climbed down that like
That's what CrossFit's for. You climb shit.
and I was like, well, there goes my support. I'm on my own now. She jumped right into the vat of
be
acid.
fair-
I'm dead.
To be fair,
Exactly.
I think the only two other people who could have made it down that hole, because it was a small hole, was Bill and Linda.
It was a very tight fit. Now,
But,
now for our audience, when we get to the interview of Bill Hedges, which we'll have in a minute, watch for the little insert video, and you'll see Jenna going down that little hidey hole and
It was
disappearing
fun.
into
It was fun.
at the point for all Seth, and she knew oblivion.
To be fair, it would have been a good death. And
Jenna was put off her guard because the very first thing that happened was we met Penny the cat. Who
Right.
is an adorable
Awesome,
little black
awesome.
kitty,
and it's
very
lovey
friendly.
and it loves strangers. And it
Yeah.
was like, and I was like,
And that was the end of
that
Jenna's.
was the end of Jenna's
Yeah,
defenses.
all inhibitions melted away.
It's true. And to be fair, like, it's such a cool secret passage that Bill had just admitted his granddaughter never ever took the stairs. She always went down the secret passage.
Well, I
I'll
mean,
meet
yeah.
you down in the basement, Grandpa.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it is that the secret passage down, when you climb down the ladder, it ends up on a stage, which is part of the theater that he built in his basement where he can show movies. And it'll fit like, what, 20 people or more?
At least.
And
And
I-
it's a legit theater that he made that to look like constellations in the winter sky.
Yeah, because he's an
gonna-
astronomer, and he duplicated LED lights in the ceiling of the theater
Yeah,
to
and-
match
You-
the constellations.
Yeah,
so
you need
Linda
to put a
confirms
picture
it's
up of
40
this.
people
40
that could
people.
fit in this theater. It's,
They would be very friendly 40 people.
Yeah.
But, I mean, standard, packed theater.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is that He
But there needs to
loved
be a picture of this just so that
movies.
people know what we're talking about. This was a legit.
No,
These
it-
had legit theater seats that
because
he
he
had taken.
took them
yeah.
from the theater that he bought,
Mm-hmm.
that he had been going to since he was a kid.
He actually worked there when he was a kid.
Yes, as a
When he was-
retired person. So you have to imagine how old this theater was.
Those seats were more comfortable than the modern theater seats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Accurate. Except for the leather recliners.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, take away the leather recliners. Yes, more comfortable. But it was very cool that he made look like a Romanesque open air
Theater.
theater. It was amazing. It was most definitely a project of love, and you could feel that being in that space.
And that and the theater down there was not the only thing in the basement.
No.
no,
Right?
Not
that's-
by-
not
that
by a
was
long
section
shot.
1.
So he had a recreation of a Hollywood diner, 50s diner.
Yeah.
But it was
and-
our
with-
space 50s diner.
With
Yeah.
classic 50s art or pinball machines
And
that,
pin-up,
that worked.
touches, pin-up touches.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
An
he-
old rotary dialed phone booth, an actual phone booth from like the 50s, wood phone booth that you could go in. You pick up the phone, it's actually got a dial tone. Unfortunately, because it's rotary and the local phone company only supports touch tones now,
support
you
rotary
can't.
anymore?
No, you can't dial out with
Hey.
the rotary.
He had
Yeah.
like all the fixins, like comic book, a revolving comic book thing with
Rack. Yep.
old comic books
Old
in it.
gum and candy stand.
Old gum and candy, old postcards.
machine.
And
he had a chalk menu up there that said sausage, eggs,
Spam.
sausage, egg, and ham, or spam, and spam.
I feel like what I just saw was like the alcohol switched on. Bang. it's like
You-
spam. There it is. There it
You
is.
cannot.
That
You
was the
have
fun-
to do the Monty Python.
Yeah, you have
have
to
to
do
do
the
the Monty
You have
Python.
to, yeah.
It
And
would be a
and he had
waste
like,
otherwise.
he had like
So
a
you chose
large.
to
You are
memorize
definitely
the
not
menu.
the Messiah.
It jumps out at you if you know your Monty
Yeah.
Python.
You
Yeah,
have to
you
go.
have to do it.
To know what we're talking about, you have to go, Charles. So
Yeah.
I know.
I think
And
you
he
would
had
like
like
it.
a 2-foot long model of the actual DeLorean
Yeah.
that was used in Back to the Future.
That lights up.
And he had a lot of newspapers like on the wall and flyers and stuff on the desk that talked about
Save the Clock Tower.
Save the Clock Tower, and funds are being raised. Contribute to the Save the Clock Tower fund, and yeah, it was very Back to the Future-esque, which was really cool.
And the secret hatch that went behind the theater also exited into the diner.
Now I've got a question. Mm-hmm. Did you take the time to show him your flex capacitor?
I did not.
He had his own.
I just
Like,
well, I would have
should
thought
have.
Bill would have compared.
Yes.
you just like go to somebody's house to compare flux capacitors.
I don't know why else you would have them.
So I'm suddenly thinking of that meme. What, 1.25 gigaflux? Oh, we need a flux capacitor?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So the diner. Then he also had some other areas. He had like a mad scientist lab.
Yeah.
A dentist chair, or was it a barber chair? Did we decide?
Dentist chair.
I thought
Was it
barber
was a
dentist or
barber chair.
Okay, so it was a barber chair.
But in context, it was a mad scientist's
Yeah,
experimental
experimental chair. Right.
In all
right.
reality, dentists and barber
Aaron's
chairs
just
were the
looking
same
over there
thing
like,
for a long time.
where did
Yeah.
Aaron's like, where did you take my girlfriend?
Right.
Like this is
Where?
the sort of chair you'd expect to sit in to have your brain removed.
Yes. Right.
And
I
replaced.
could see it in a Hannibal Lecter movie easily.
But babe, it was so cool. I can't wait to take you there.
Yeah.
It's not like they gave me a lobotomy and a chip. I swear.
Yeah. Just be sure to fill out your last will and testicle before you go.
Testicle?
Well, what?
Last will and testicle. You've never watched All in the Family with Archie
No.
Bunker?
No, and you know what? I'm just going to throw it out there right now and tell
Yeah.
our audience not to do that.
Not to watch that show.
Just going to let that one go.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
He thought he was gonna die, and he was gonna fill out his last will and testicle.
yes. Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
you remember that, John?
Edith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
All
so
that.
so there was all that, but that's not all.
No.
But wait, there's
But
more.
wait,
There's more. He also recreated the command deck of the Jupiter 2 from Lost in Space.
The original
The
Lost in
inside,
Space,
yeah.
we should mention.
The original.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, I mean, all the blinky lights, the radar scopes.
He
the,
made an alien landscape for you to look out on.
Yeah,
Yes.
from the
That-
front windshield.
From the front windshield that would turn from day to night.
And
Yes.
then
And
thunderstorm.
Thunderstorms, and then like
Meteor showers.
showers
Yeah.
Oh my
with
God.
like
It
a
was
laser
beautiful.
light show and sound effects.
and he had
Yeah.
inside the robot on-off switches and
He
I
has
mean-
the heart of an engineer.
Oh
and
my
he's the
God.
kind of engineer whose roads I would drive on.
I mean,
like this was a set. This was a recreation
Poor
that you could
Charles.
actually like. You could go in there. You could flip the buttons. you
yeah,
could
and they would do
turn-
things.
You could
Yes.
turn the circuit panels around.
And he had in the corner, he had the 8-foot Jacob's ladder that they had on the ship that would run occasionally. And he flipped that thing on. Remember the
and he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, this actually is a fire hazard, but it's neat.
Yeah.
right?
And Bill was like, mine's much smaller than
Mine's
that.
only like 4 foot.
My, yeah. Wah, wah, wah.
And they had,
But he doesn't have a Tesla coil.
yeah, he also just
Yet.
like had a TV screen in there that he
Yeah.
said he just like came down and watched TV down there.
Right.
His
sometimes.
spaceship.
Which
he likes
how
to watch
cool is
spaceship.
that?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
I've got a spaceship that I can watch movies in.
That is
Right.
sweet.
And,
And again, that's just his home.
that's just his basement.
Yeah.
Like, that's not talking about the
Well-
cool garage he has,
Mm-hmm.
where he had what kind of was it a
Couple old cars.
TA?
Model
Or
A,
Model A?
Model T.
A TA.
I'm
I
all
don't
about
know.
that
TNA,
observatory that
who
he
is not
had.
about that.
yeah.
And then he built an observatory.
With
Yeah.
a
Like, with a
rollback roof.
God knows
Yeah.
how expensive telescope.
Yeah.
But being in a small town, he doesn't have to worry about light pollution, so
Right.
he has it right there. And it's just like, oh, life goals.
Amazing.
Hashtag life goals.
Right.
Oh my God.
You know, I don't know if you guys thought this, but as I'm there going through all that stuff and I'm looking at the house, the studio he's got, he actually bought the building next to the studio that is a art gallery for space art. And then he bought the building next to that and converted it so the brick front of the building will fold down on a big motor in the summer, and a set of bleacher chairs will roll out to be a stair step thing, and he drives up a van pulling a giant screen, and he'll show outdoor movies on Main Street in Lyons, Nebraska
See,
in the summer.
That's something we actually need to do, I think.
Yeah.
Because I would really like to see that happen.
It almost reminded me of whoever the guy was that built the volcano lair in James Bond. I mean, this guy could do that.
And Bill's just like life goals.
Yes, right.
But I mean, and that's where, we've talked before about how interesting and wonderful the cosplay community is in Omaha and Nebraska, because let's be honest, there's not as much to do, and it's really easy for us all to connect. And you see someone like this who takes a passion and builds beautiful things, interesting things, the things that we're like, if I had $1 million, I would do this. He did not have $1 million, but he fucking did it, and good for him.
And
good for him for living the life that we joke about we would live, and it's like,
And he
I'm
did it.
doing it.
Yeah,
Born
and it
free.
seriously made me.
As free as the wind blows.
It seriously made me think that when I retire, I want to move to a small town and do something like that.
Or at least you want a bigger
I want to
basement.
take over my
A
own.
bigger
small
Linda's
basement.
town.
like, we're gonna need
Yeah.
more money.
Yes.
Bill just wants to take over his own small town and
Yeah.
do
But
whatever he wants with it.
to be fair to us, we still aren't exactly sure how he afforded it. He might be selling kidneys on the black market.
And is there
From
a
people
small
that go
town-
down behind the bookcase.
Yeah.
Is there a small town that's ready for ovipositors yet? I don't know.
That's
It's
hard to say.
I don't know.
It's hard to say. That's
You didn't think that was coming up. You're wrong. It just did. So
That's
there
in
you
reference to an article that Charles posted on our internal chat.
We probably don't want to get
into the
distracted
gory
with
details.
that yet
no,
until
right.
we.
No, we'll
impo-
save it for Galactic Driftwood after dark.
See, it's a teaser.
Well,
It's a teaser.
I think right
Come
now
back.
we should get to the interview
Yes.
that you guys can.
Yeah, I think so. Let's. So we did. John and I. Unfortunately, Seth and Jenna had to get back to Omaha.
Adulting.
So they couldn't stay. But John and I stayed, and we did about a half-hour interview with Bill Hedges. Talked to him about his series Cosmic Cat, how he got started in the whole sci-fi thing, and it's a really interesting interview. So let's just take a little bit here, and we'll cut to that right now, and then come back, and we'll have a little bit more following that. So take it away. Well, hello, and welcome to Cosmic Film Studios. I'm here with Bill Hedges and John Powers, and
And you are?
and I'm Bill Newman, not
Not
Bill
Hedges.
Hedges.
The other Bill.
Right. Although the two Bills do have a lot of in common as far as love of science fiction.
They really do, but now I'm going to refer to you as Bill the Lesser. Because Bill the Greater has constructed the true
Has
mad
all of this
scientist
stuff.
paradise.
Right, and
That-
Or you could call me Will, because that's my character in my
oh
series.
yeah, Will. And right now, actually, we're filming this interview in one of Bill's sets that he built himself. Now, this is going to be an upcoming episode of Cosmic Cat. Is this the third episode that this?
No, this
will
is
be?
the second one,
Oh, okay.
and it's finished, and I've entered in some film festivals, and as soon as that's shown at them, then I'm going to put it on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Now, do you have like a idea of how many episodes you're going to make for the Cosmic Cat series?
It's indefinite, but I do have 12 scripts written so far, and that allows me to have a little bit of an arc and
Right.
continuity between them. But I have ideas for a lot more, and have outlines and treatments, already written.
Now, you had mentioned when we were doing the tour a little bit ago that you were showing some of the props from the first two episodes that you've done, and you mentioned how there's a little sort of an Easter egg, I guess you would say, in each of the episodes that kind of foreshadows an upcoming episode.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun to actually have some clues to what the next episode is. So if you watch closely, you might even have to freeze frame things. You'll see something that refers to what's going to be in the next episode. So I thought that'd be kind of fun to include in each episode.
So like a magazine cover?
Yeah,
Or,
or a background prop.
Nice.
So like in the Scaredy Cat first episode, I had a keeper's staff from Lost in Space episode, and so then this next episode, it involves the zoo, so that's kind of a clue to what that episode's going to be about.
Very cool. Well, now, what prompted your love of science fiction? How did you get hooked on the whole science fiction bug?
I've always liked science, and when we lived on the farm when I was about 10, my folks got me a telescope, so I got me interested in astronomy. And my uncle had a electronics TV shop, and he gave me a voltmeter and his old Army training book, so that got me interested in electronics. So I've always been interested in science, and of course I had the chemistry sets. But movies influenced me a lot, and also I liked the sci-fi shows of the '60s, like Star Trek and Lost in Space. And
Yeah, you seem to have a particular love for the Lost in Space series because you've got the whole, and we'll show some footage of this during the interview here, but you've recreated the whole main inside of the Jupiter 2 in your basement, which is just amazing.
To a great extent.
And the outside, yeah, you got what, a quarter of the front of it here, or 2/3 of the front of the Jupiter 2. So it seems like you really have a passion over the Lost in Space series.
yeah, it must have been the time, the right age, it just struck me, and really, I like Star Trek too, but much more Lost in Space, just because it's more of a personal spaceship. And,
Sure.
Star Trek was a little bit more military, and
Right.
you didn't have as much control over what you could do unless you were the captain. But in Lost in Space, it was they were more free to travel around where they wanted
Do
to,
what they
and
wanted
do
to
what
do.
they wanted.
And there was no non-interference directive,
Yeah.
so Dr. Smith could do whatever he wanted.
And I loved all the mysterious alien
Creatures.
spaceships and devices they would find, which would precipitate in the episode.
Yeah, and it was amazing how much they did with the minute budgets that they had at the time, and everything was kind of low tech, but they made it work. Even Star Trek itself, they had just a minimal
Oh
budget.
yeah,
John?
like the Horta from the episode with Horta is actually a carpet
Really?
that some guy's under, and he just kind of crawls along. So yes, they worked wonders with a very minimal budget for effects.
And I think that has a lot to do with the writers too. Especially the first season of Lost in Space. And, they even shared some writers with Star Trek too.
Right. Now, I'm interested in getting your perspective on this because Lost in Space, if you watch the pilot, maybe the first couple of episodes, it seems like a lot more serious science fiction. But then at a certain point, it turned more campy.
Dr. Smith was kind of cool in those first couple episodes.
And then it kind of changed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the first season was my favorite, the black and white season.
Yeah.
And they did try and stay more serious, although they did try to sneak some humor in, especially as Jonathan Harris didn't want to be killed off, so he had to lighten it up a little bit from his more snarling villain type.
Right. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense, because if he was really that bad of a guy, they would have ejected him out into space and said, listen, this guy's hopeless. He's destroying, our any possibility of us getting back. We could be marooned. He could steal the ship. Who knows? We can't trust this guy. A normal family would have gotten rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after the first season, it did get campy and a little more silly, but I still liked watching it just because of the hardware of it. Any episode, no matter how bad it was, I would still enjoy it if it would show some, the spaceship
Alien hardware.
or the chariot or them flying the rocket belt around.
I like that too. I'm more focused on the props and stuff, really. And you've got some amazing props here that so you built this basically. The frame, put all the buttons in, lit it all up, and you do that with a lot of the stuff, right? You make it yourself.
Yeah, I didn't really start making props too much until I decided to build my little Jupiter 2 interior in my basement.
Ah, yeah.
And so that's when I actually started learning how to mold stuff and cast parts out of resin. And, but that was basically what gets started is finishing that room.
So tell me about that process of making something out of resin. How do you get started? Do you make it? Do you cast? Do you make something like out of wood first and then make a mold out of that, or how does that work?
The ones that mostly I had was cast from parts that were already made. So I had actually visited some other collectors that had some of the other panels, and they let me make. I'd make molds of their knobs and stuff, and they let me measure everything and photograph it, and even take some of this stuff apart so I could see how it was built inside. So once you have the mold, then you can make lots of copies of it.
So how do you do that? Do you have like a little container there and you put the knob in?
Yeah, you
how's that
take a little
work?
plastic jar and kind of support it, and then you just pour this liquid. You mix up a two-part rubber compound,
Okay.
and it solidifies in an hour or so. And then after that, you can pull it out and pour resin in it, and
then
it stretches enough where you can take it off.
Kind of common for fan fiction. It's like I know Star Trek Continues use that very method to make all the buttons for the bridge because they're just not available.
And also even for the hero props, like the other phasers, when they were more delicate, you wouldn't want to break them. So if they were just carrying around or wrestling or something, they would make a mold of that and just make a rubber, version of it. So,
Right. So if it got smashed or
Yeah.
dropped, it wouldn't destroy it. Oh, that's neat. Now, so you learned how to do all of this wiring and stuff from your association with your
Yeah, I was always
the
interested in
electronic shop.
electronics,
Yeah.
and
And who was it that had the television repair studio?
my uncle,
Your uncle.
yeah,
Okay.
and he's responsible for me getting me interested in electronics. So I'd go to his shop and he'd have all these, televisions, pulled out, from the cabinets, and I just thought that's it's a cool area with the oscilloscope and all this test equipment.
Until you find the capacitor. It's all real cool.
Yeah.
And back then you could actually work on stuff, not like today. So you had all these discrete components. So.
Right. Huh. Now, this set that we're in right now, you also built the whole set yourself.
Yeah.
Now, how did you learn all the carpentry? Because that's kind of a totally different skill set.
Yeah, that was partly because came from wanting to restore my houses. I have like a 100-year-old house, and I've always I could never afford to hire people to do it. So I'd just get a book on how to wire up the things to code or plumb things to code, and I do it myself. So that's where I learned that type of wiring, and also construction. I grew up on a farm, and Dad, I guess I got that from him because he would, if he wanted something, he'd make it himself.
Kind of a do-it-yourselfer kind of guy.
Fix up houses. So that probably came from him.
Nice.
So all my carpentry skills, wiring skills, and everything, now I was able to transfer into building props. So.
Oh, very cool. Now, at what point did you decide that you wanted to film a series, Cosmic Cat?
The reason I did that was I've always been an amateur filmmaker. So when I graduated from high school, my folks gave me a Super 8 movie camera. So I'd make my own little films from that and do stop motion films.
Oh, yeah.
And that was fun. And later, when they got video cameras, that was made it easier because it was expensive actually to make movies with Super 8.
Right, because you had to pay for the development of the film.
Well, it'd be like about $10 for a 3-minute reel, and that was back
That
then.
adds up. And then with the video, of course, you can erase it and reshoot
Yeah.
it if you needed to. That made it very economical.
So
Makes our show possible.
Yes.
The ability to erase what we do and do it again. So,
And edit easy with the modern day computers and software.
So now that I look back at some of my old videos, they look, really amateurish and
Sure.
almost embarrassing. I would even want to show it to them, but I'd have to drag my family into, being in it too. 'Cause
Right.
my kids were kind of reluctant to be in it,
But it's the stuff like
Yeah.
that fosters your love of doing that sort of thing. And it's a learning process. I mean, I'm sure even Steven Spielberg didn't start out being a great filmmaker. He's probably got some projects hidden in a closet somewhere that he doesn't want anyone to see either. So, but yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah,
And
so I did start out when I was young, but as far as actually taking it up to another level, that started from after I built I had actually acquired a couple of original prop panels from the Jupiter 2 from Lost in Space.
okay.
And rather than just have them displayed in by themselves, I thought it'd be fun to actually work them into the original type cabinet. So I did a lot of research and even got some original blueprints of how the set was built. And so I had seen a flight console that another guy had made that had at a convention, so that really inspired me too. I measured it and took a lot of photographs of it. So I decided if he could make it, I should be able to do it too. It wasn't as complicated as it might seem, because he just made it out of plywood and plastic, and so then I realized that when I could do it myself, I fixed up a vacant room in my basement to be like the spaceship. So I actually had some original props from Lost in Space in it.
So did you find a lot of that, the parts that you needed? Like you mentioned the Burroughs consoles.
Yeah.
Did you find those online then, or how did you go about acquiring some
I
of that stuff?
acquired a few things on eBay,
Okay.
and even some original props. But most of the panels in there are just made out of plywood with, like old, vintage, light bulbs and or light domes and stuff and switches. So.
Yeah. So I imagine it probably gets warm in there if it's the old incandescent bulbs that are
No,
lighting a lot of
I
that?
switched them out to LEDs.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I have about 1,000 little bulbs in there. So
Oh yeah, I imagine that.
even the incandescent ones on one of those burrows, they can actually throw off a lot of heat
Oh,
if
sure.
you use them like they originally did.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. No, they would get hot.
So then after I had built that, I thought, well, it'd be kind of fun to film a little video, have a little narrative video in there. So
Yeah.
I wrote a script for that. But after I wrote it, then I realized it wouldn't be too interesting just to be film inside of that, because it would be like a bottle show on Star Trek. They would film shows just to save money. They'd film shows just on the spaceship set, and they wouldn't go to a planet. So
Sure.
I wanted to be able to film at least the section of the exterior of the spaceship too, where you're walking out,
Right.
and film some exterior scenes too. And since I knew I did need a little more room to do that, so I was kind of looking around for a shed in town or a big garage or something that I could buy.
Instead, you bought the town. Well done.
And my sister-in-law told me about this. Her brother-in-law owned this building, and he was getting out of the construction business and wanted to sell it. So I came down here and looked it over, and since it was the actual theater where I used to work when I was a kid, I couldn't pass it up. And it was biggest,
a lot of fond memories
yeah, it was
of
the
being
biggest
here.
impulse buy I ever buy. I bought it within a couple hours, and
Yeah. Nice. And then started
went
building
across
your,
the street to the yard. So
yeah, and then started building your
Yeah.
outside of your Jupiter too, right here.
So as soon as I bought it, I started drawing up plans how I could, fix it up for the most versatile maximum use.
Right.
Lots of people have dreams, but you actually did it. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Thanks.
Well
Yeah,
done.
this is stuff I've dreamed about doing my whole life, but just never had the time or the, resources to do it. So.
Well, this came up too after I retired from the post office, and that was, I had a lot more time to work on stuff then too. So
Nice.
this is like an ideal playground for me in my retirement now.
And we should probably mention the star of the show, Penny,
Yeah.
who is your cat. And of course, it's Cosmic Film Studios, and you've got a cat. If you look at John's shirt there, you can see the logo, the cat in the spaceship. And
Where's your shirt?
my shirt, I've got to get a new one. My other shirt's too big for me,
Well,
so I'm going to get a new one while I'm here today.
should have gotten it already.
Yeah.
You're wearing it now.
So
Okay, that's
so Penny co-stars in your show, or stars in your show, I guess you would say. I think what we'll do here is let's just take a quick break, and I'm going to cut in a trailer from the latest episode of Cosmic Cat that deals with. Why don't you set us up? Tell us a little bit about what that episode's about.
This episode that I just finished filming is about an alien zoo, and it kind of picks up right after he's captured by aliens and continues from there.
And tries to find a way to
Yeah.
escape. Okay. All right. Well, let's roll that footage.
As we venture out into space, we expect most alien life to be much different from us. But perhaps some aliens are more like us than we realize. Will and his space cat Penny are about to discover one thing we do have in common with aliens. Aliens also have zoos. In a world beyond our world, there is a world behind bars, where there is no place left to run, and all hope is lost.
So there you go. So it looks like an exciting show, and actually we've gotten to see the full episode already, and it's really a very well done, very well shot show. And our friend Katie Otten, who's a local actress in the Omaha area, stars as the alien zookeeper in that episode. And now, in that episode, of course, is Penny, your cat. And there's a lot of different scenes, and Penny does a lot of amazing things in there. And tell us how you accomplish that.
Well, it's not easy using a cat as a star because, you know, they aren't quite as trainable as a dog. But I got the idea for using a cat originally because there was a skit on Saturday Night Live called Toons is a Driving Cat.
I love Toonses.
And
They can drive, just not very well.
Yeah. So, way before this, I did a little video of It's a Wonderful Toons' Christmas. So, I made a little mechanical cat and used my real cat and cut between them like they did on Toons'. And that was like my proof of concept that, you know, I could make it work.
Sure.
Toons is the cat as a proof of concept. I love that.
Yeah.
I do.
So, but I knew I'd need a little better cat than, you know, what I had. It was kind of crude. So, besides using Penny, I actually made some radio control cats, and I have some puppet cats. So, I'll use Penny wherever I can where she can actually do cat stuff. But if I need to have the cat playing a violin or something, then I use my
playing
mechanical.
cards.
Yeah, playing cards.
Using a black cat is much more forgiving than Tabby that Toonses was. So,
And
yeah.
I always liked black cats too. In fact, you know, one of my cats was inspired by the Star Trek episode of Simon Earth?
Simon Earth
Simon
with Gary
Earth.
Seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Isis was the name of the cat.
Right, I remember
After the
that.
Egyptian god. So
Right.
I even named one of my cats Isis.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
And also, you know, using cats on YouTube is, you know, you already guaranteed a
An
big
audience, a
Yeah.
built-in audience, absolutely.
Because, you know, the internet was made for cats, I think.
Yeah. Now, how long does it take you to film an episode? And then once you've got it in the can, how long does it take you to edit it before it's ready to be posted or shown?
Most of the time is spent just building the props and the sets, because I have to build everything from scratch.
Do you have to farm out your special effects? Because it's like the way you handle your spaceship moving scenes is really well done.
Oh, thanks. I like doing all aspects of that. So when I go to film, like for Katie, I had her for 2 weekends, a day each weekend. So I had all her scenes ready to go and filmed her during those 2 days. But for me, where it's not as much a hurry, it kind of spreads out over a couple weeks or so, even 3 weeks. But it's coming in and like doing shots with Penny too can take quite a while too.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to get her to do it in one take. So.
Right. And then how long does it take you to edit it once you've got all the scenes shot?
I do have a lot of times I have the music already planned out, and so it takes maybe a couple weeks to edit it because they aren't feature length; they're just shorts.
Yeah.
Run about 30 minutes.
Right.
You've been thinking about it so much, I already know how I want to edit it, so it goes fairly fast when I do edit it then.
Yeah. Now in this episode 2, at the end of it, there's a song at the end with all the aliens playing different instruments. Now, that music for that, do you find is that like free music that you found on the internet?
No.
Or did you compose that?
It's called royalty-free music, so you don't have to. It's not free, but it's a subscription service. So I pay so much a year for the service, and they have unlimited downloads. So I use basically just their library. They have such an extensive library, and I use that for all my music and sound effects too. They have a big sound effects library.
Now,
I need that.
yes.
Right.
I always worry about the copyright. So
Yeah.
even the magazines and books, I'll print the covers for them, and any brand names like for the beer bottles, they'll make my own props like that.
Right. Yeah, because so often you'll see people will post stuff on YouTube or whatever that you go to look at it and it's been taken down for copyright infringement, so you wouldn't want that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a lot of the studios are pretty protective about their
intellectual property.
So even like Star Trek, there are some really well done Star Trek episodes like Star Trek Continues.
Yeah.
and those were
Voyager,
essentially shut down because they restricted the rules. Because some people were making personally making money from it.
Right,
we
like
won't-
that
we
Star
won't
Trek
talk about-
Annixter.
yeah, we won't
talk about
Axonar.
Axonar. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just can't,
Yeah.
shouldn't.
So
But
they
yeah, they-
kind of
they-
restricted it so much that the studios, the one in
Yeah.
Ticonderoga.
Well, they pumped so much
it's-
money into it, and they were paying the actors way more than the guidelines permitted.
Yeah.
But they had to kind of through SAG regulations, because they got real stars. I mean,
Yes, right.
and it's a weird mess, and it's like now we don't have continues, now we don't have anything.
So where I actually in the beginning wanted to make a Lost in Space fan film, I decided not to because I didn't want to get
Yeah.
cease and desist order. And
Right.
Are
So
they as
I think
rigid
it's-
about the intellectual property rights for Lost in Space?
What was that?
Are they as rigid about the intellectual
Oh
property
yeah, actually
rights?
there was going to be a Lost in Space web series that the filmmaker was going to do, and they got a cease and desist order, to shut down. So
Who owns the rights to the original Lost in Space?
CBS used
it's
to.
Legendary owns it. Kevin Burns, he manages it for him
Okay.
for the Irwin Element Estate.
I gotcha. Huh. Now, what
So-
software do you use to edit your...
I like to use Adobe Premiere to edit it, and then for some special effects I'll use Adobe After Effects. So if I want to remove wires, that's holding up the spaceship, they have a nice wire removal.
Really? Huh. I was always wondered how that worked, how they got all the wires
Or when I
removed and stuff.
do my next episode, when I'm doing a weightless shot, so I can easily remove the wires and
Huh.
look
Very
like I'm really floating.
Nice.
So this is so much nicer than the types of effects that I could do with the Super 8.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to actually make a little optical printer to combine to make matte shots. Because I wanted to do a shot of a beam coming down.
Yeah.
Matte shots like they done in Star Trek and Lost in Space. It's hard to do
Right.
in camera. But
Yeah, I mean, the whole computer field and the whole industry around that has made it so easy for people now to make really high-quality films almost in their basements. That there's I don't know if you've seen it, out on YouTube, there's a channel called Dust, which makes sci-fi shorts.
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of them are just amazing that they do. It just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah,
how-
and they can have computer generated backgrounds and everything. And
Mhm.
I do have a green screen too, where I can do shots if I need to. But actually, I like to keep mine low tech. I'm actually going for the 60s, 70s look, where you actually have real sets,
Right.
real props, and I don't want to use computer graphics at all because everybody does that anymore.
Yeah.
And if it's done well by major studios, it looks good. But if you're more of an amateur, it's hard to make it look convincing.
Right,
So
right.
I don't even try to make my sets or episodes look realistic. I'm trying to go for that 60s look.
Well, that's very good.
I just watched Forbidden Planet like yesterday. It was on. Was that Super 8?
Wouldn't have been Super 8.
Or
It would
predated
have been
Super 8?
like
Well, it was like cinema
35
scope.
millimeter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they actually, I think, had to use like affect the film. They had to scratch.
Yeah,
like,
to make
No, that was As Disney animators actually did the Sparks and the monster from the Id.
Okay.
How'd they do that? That's because I was told that they actually.
Well, they would use an
carved that
optical print. No, it was done with an optical printer.
in. Nice.
Huh.
Well done.
And then my last episode too, Scaredy Cat, I have do a parody of the monster from the Id too.
Nice. And how did you?
And that was done practically too, rather than animated. I actually had a puppet rat, and then I painted the teeth and the claws with phosphorescent paint and lit it by UV to give it that glow.
Right. Huh.
And
Very cool.
so even that, I don't like to use, computer graphics. I like to do real, puppets.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, there's enough people that do, movies with special effects. I like to do something that's a little different.
Well,
And actually, I think it's more fun too
Yeah.
because working with, I like real miniatures, spaceships. Like when you're done with the shooting the episode, you actually have the model,
Yeah.
display afterwards. But
for nostalgia.
if
or
it's
whatever,
just
yeah.
computer generated spaceship, you don't have anything to show for it afterwards. So.
Right. Well, and I think that's the charm of what you do is that it all exists.
Yeah.
It's all tangible.
And it's love. You can feel you really love what you're doing, and it comes through on the work that you
Well,
hand out. It's like
Well, it was my guide was back in the '60s during Star Trek. They had the book, The Making of Star Trek, and that was the inspiration for me. And I wanted to do those kind of effects with the miniatures, and
Right.
that's what inspired me. So that's why I still like to, do practical effects.
That's great. Well, now, so you just finished putting out your episode 2. You started on episode 3?
That's what this set right here is
This
for.
one, okay.
Well, actually, this is for episode 4, but I'm going to film that, before my third one. So
Oh, okay.
I'm going to film both of them, kind of simultaneously this summer.
Now, are there, in the upcoming shows that you're doing, are there any sort of big props that you got to work on for those, or do you pretty much have all the set pieces you need and it's just kind of redoing them?
Some I'll remodify, like in the last episode, Scaredy Cat, this is the pedestal that had that big eyeball that opened up.
Yes,
So
right.
I just took that off and added a different
kind of
top
looks
to it.
like the descendant of the Daleks here. It's like
Yeah.
early Dalek.
It does. It is.
And in my last episode, this was a light fixture for that one scene too at the very end. So change things up a little bit, but I'm always building new props too for different episodes. Like I'll be working on a space pod for our upcoming episode 2.
For Penny to travel around in?
Yeah, she takes off in the space pod. So I'm going to build a full-size one of that. And then I'll also build a miniature one too. But anytime I build stuff, I always have it in mind to work it into another episode too, so I can, don't feel
Make maximal use of it. Yeah, nice.
These set walls too. For the episode I just filmed, they were cages in a zoo. So take the bars out and they become alien doorways.
Yeah, very cool.
Or in this case, the
supercomputer.
Yeah, the computer.
Alien computer. Very nice.
Did they reuse a lot of things on the set of Lost in Space originally? Or?
Yeah, they did that constantly. And one of the things I find fun when I watch the episodes now is to, identify props that they'd used in a previous episode, but they would change it just out a little bit.
Just enough to fool the viewing.
Yeah, I built this one right there. It was used in a lot of different episodes in the background for in different alien spaceships.
Huh. That's very cool.
It is. I like, and it's like I noticed you centered the camera so that you got a picture of that display that actually responds to voices. So good call on that one.
Yeah, it's very cool. Well, Bill, thank you very much. We appreciate the tour and the
you're
time. And
is there anything you'd like to promote? Any your Cosmic Cat tours?
Well,
Any like?
I do have a website that my son fixed up. It's called cosmicfilmstudio.com.
Okay.
And it has a link to the episodes that are done, and also behind the scenes, and tells all about the studio. And I do have people come down here and film other films too, so that's kind of fun to share with them.
Well, we'll share that.
Now, when
email
those-
or that URL.
Yeah, those other films that are shot here, will those be linked from your website
Yeah.
as well? Oh,
I do have some behind-the-scenes shots of the Robo Mummy from outer space, which they filmed here. Lincoln filmmaker
nice.
filmed a feature here, so hopefully that'll be out this summer. And just from seeing what they
Forward to
filmed, it's really going to be funny.
Good, good. Well, we'll look
And
forward
then
to seeing that.
they wanted to use a lot of my sets that I already had too.
Oh,
So.
nice.
I
That
worked
worked
out
out
good.
well for
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
And then, last month too, I had a musician. She came out here to do a music video, so that's online too now. So that was filmed using, some of the same. I actually used, some of the cage, sets too, and the exteriors out there too for that. And Penny was in that too.
Oh, very cool.
So she's in a couple of different films, so she's a pretty hard-working cat.
Yeah, getting to be quite famous.
Yeah.
She'll be making her demands for her own studio fifth wheel or something. She can go lounging in between
Well,
shots.
she has her little.
Her own
she has her
director's
own,
chair?
Yeah, director's chair. She has her own little bathroom there underneath the spaceship there.
Nice.
I want a bowl of green M&Ms before every show, or I'm not going on.
She the craft table for her. I got all kinds of cat treats for her.
Nice.
Because that's in her contract.
Yeah.
So yes, you better have to.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Bill.
You're welcome.
Pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you
I
too.
wish you great success in the future.
Yeah, I love your podcast too.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and send it back to the studio for more commentary. Thanks for watching.
Okay, well, we're back.
Yes, we are.
Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. We sure enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. Bill's fun.
Yeah, and the studio is amazing. I mean, he's got that real, quarter size front of the Jupiter 2 there. And the amazing thing of that, so it's just the facade of the Jupiter 2. Inside, when he films the inside shots, he films it from his basement where he's got the detail.
Yes.
But from the outside, he's got, when you look in the windows from the outside, he's got a mural back there. And the mural is designed so that when you look at it from the outside, it makes it look like it's a
It's a 3D.
three-dimensional,
Oh.
deep.
Yeah.
There's the White House again,
Your
Linda.
Ukrainian spies are
Yes,
are
are
talking to you again.
communicating.
So-
But yeah, it
Totally
looks like
didn't sell Jen on the black market.
You better have gotten damn good shit. I'm thinking at least 15K I'm worth. 15.
350.
And for not being a virgin. Had I been a virgin, you would have gotten
350.
100.
yeah.
350. Yeah.
Well, we told him you were a virgin, so they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But we only gave him Seth's address.
Yeah.
I
and I are
don't know
mo-
what I'm going to do with that.
Linda and I are moving to a small town.
Well, no, so now we got
Have you
our
started
kidneys to sell on the
casing
black
small
market.
towns to figure
Yes.
out
Start
which
that
one you want to take
compound.
over
Well,
yet?
at least
I've
they're not
been
trying
looking.
to sell my liver, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I want something no more than an hour from Omaha.
Yeah, and with a appliance civilization
Yes.
that
Yes.
will accept your
Something that's
rule.
easy to subdue.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Bill, the corn lord.
Well, dude, you have been, I've been
Malachi.
waiting for you to start a cult for a long time.
Yeah.
I've seen your failed efforts. And-
Failed efforts?
Yeah.
I mean, he made himself a staff. It's over there in the corner.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And
I mean, that's the sort of thing I could see him, like, exiting the corn silo wielding. Just like,
Right. Right.
Yeah, I
Anything's
don't know
possible.
Don't know what you want to do in the cornfields with your staff, but it's like
What I want to do is find a small town that I can rename,
what
like Newman Grove or something.
Billville.
Anyway, so
Danger
Bill was
Town.
awesome.
Danger
And
Town.
Well, thank you.
I think The other Bill.
Oh,
The other-
You're
No, I-
fine.
You're fun.
Fine.
And I adore you.
But I
Thank
mean, you
But-
don't have your own small Nebraska town.
No, I
and you
don't.
don't have your own theater in your basement.
That's
You
true.
don't have your own spaceship.
There's time.
I do have my own studio. I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
You are getting there.
Your
We
Jacob's
appreciate-
ladder is pretty small, though.
It is, but
You know, people have been talking about
But-
that too. They have been talking about the size of your Jacob's ladder for quite some time.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what. Ba-dump-dump. Yeah.
damn it. But you have yet to see my
Why are you waving
Tesla
that as
coil.
like this? Why are you doing this?
my
with your
Tesla
pen?
coil.
I
Talking
mean,
about your small Tesla.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it feels kind of weird to say, but yeah, I do want to see your Tesla coil.
It's 50,000 watts.
yeah.
I mean, sorry, 500,000, not 50,000.
Yep.
500,000 watts.
Yep. And if
No,
you're-
Aaron.
John's-
Recorder, you
Aaron
can
said
see
you
it.
want to say
Yeah.
volts, not watts.
Right. Right.
Says the engineer
Volts.
for Facebook.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll, when we do a future after dark, we'll film the Tesla
Yes.
and we can put it on the show.
We should
We
just
have-
be like
you have-
dancing
you have some
around it with
cam
like
footage of that, don't you?
lightsabers.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because like you did it at British Fest,
Right.
And filmed it, didn't you?
Yeah, and you saw it.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want you to knock
Charles
out all
has
the.
seen it.
I
Dude,
It's
felt-
impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it,
yeah, I
isn't
saw
it
the
gonna like
fluorescent
knock
bulb.
out all the computers for like a block if you turn that thing on?
No.
No.
Nah,
He's
block,
got some-
maybe.
So, if
Grounding
anything,
wires
I
up.
would hope
Yeah.
our audience looking at the interview, listening to how inspired we are by just visiting Mr. Hedges, that
Maybe
What-
call
Yeah.
ahead.
Does he want visitors? Do you think? I think he does.
Bro.
no,
yeah.
no, don't not even say that, but that whatever craziness that inspires you, you should freaking pursue it.
Yeah.
Don't like if
Buy
something,
that town.
Yeah.
if it makes you
make that human centipede. Make it happen. Live the dream.
no,
it.
You
all
can
of-
accomplish anything.
Just do it.
Jenna's right. You can do whatever
You
you,
can
want.
do it all.
if there is a craft that makes you happy, no matter what people may tease you about for your fandom and your
Right.
nerd love, fucking do it. Life
Yeah.
is short.
Make it
if
happen.
it makes you happy, do it.
Right.
What is that? I feel that means Bill's going to get ovipositors now.
You know what? I always wanted, when I was a kid, I wanted those. When we were kids, we had. I got 3 brothers, and we used to.
Are those the ones that survived?
Yes, those are the ones. Those are the ones I let live.
Barely.
And we had bunk beds, and I always imagined having the bunk bed I could tap, and it would fold up with stairs that would go down like Hogan's Heroes, and I could go down underground, and I had the shortwave radio down there and all this kind of stuff. You kind of heard the Morse code, so I got part of it going.
Have a
But-
tiny Frenchman trapped in your basement.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. And I
be
always,
awesome.
I always wanted to have that tree. You know, they always came up through that tree, that sawed-off tree, out in the. Yeah, it was just a stump, and the top of the stump lifted off, and they'd climb up out from underground. I always thought that would be cool to have in the park here behind the house. But the trees are only probably about 2 inches around right now. They're kind of small. I'd have to lose some more weight to be able to crawl out of one.
Or you could just like get a fake tree stump.
Yeah, it would kind of look out of place with all the 2-inch tree stumps. But who knows?
2-inch trees.
Right.
Well,
I mean, Bill
yeah.
like excavated under his yard, didn't
Yes.
he? To
Yes,
put
he
that
did.
theater in?
Yes, he
well,
did.
under
I
the house,
mean-
yes.
He excavated all that.
There's nothing stopping you from knocking down a wall and digging
Yes.
underneath a street.
except
Linda's
Linda.
like, don't you give him ideas.
And Jenna's over here like, follow
You know,
your
she had a huge enough fight when we moved into the house, and I wanted to put in the fire pole from the bedroom to the kitchen.
Seeing as how you don't have that, I guess you lost that.
Yeah, I lost the fight.
You know, I think that's for the best.
You
I
think?
really
You
do.
say that, but I'm over here disappointed. Like, I could
know.
be climbing a fire pole.
Right,
of
right.
dreams.
What is it with you and climbing and drinking? I don't understand. It's like no, they
Hashtag-
don't. They really don't.
Hashtag
kinda do.
CrossFit. I don't know. I want to do strenuous things.
Well, listen,
Jenna's always been a climber.
It's true.
we're coming up on our hour, and so I think we should get to our final question.
It's true. Bill,
And-
you start because
okay.
the wonderful question is: if you could build any fandom in your basement, what would it be?
And if I could build any fandom in my basement, I would recreate the bridge of the original Enterprise, NCC 1701. So the nice thing is you could use the view screen as a TV to watch Netflix.
Nice.
Or anything else.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so I would do that.
All right.
So I would actually go X-Men. And I'm suddenly...
What, you
I'm
mean
sure
like-
it's not the whiskey.
Do you mean
but
like
just
the,
in
the
case it was...
mansion, the X-Men mansion or something?
No,
or?
like the
Danger Room?
not the danger room, but Professor Xavier's
Oh,
Little
Cerebro.
Cerebro. I would want to do that because that would be cool because you could have a planetarium from that,
yeah.
or a screen to watch Netflix.
Yeah, I can just see Jenna down there wearing the helmet going, I'm trying to kill them with my mind. I am trying to
And then she'd be like,
hate you to death.
well, and then she'd
To
be
be
like,
fair, the politics of today, could you blame me?
no.
No.
And
that
then-
would be a pretty fun
Shut your
fantasy.
mouth.
And then to be fair, she would be like, I'm going to kill them with my mind. And then she'd be like, fuck it, I'm going to use a knife and throw her, throw her helmet down.
Ah, fuck it, knives are easier.
Actually, accurate. Good to know you've gotten to know me this well
Yes,
since
right.
November, sir.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
You have not hit your little furry animal at all. I
No.
don't- why-
I don't hit animals. Generally,
Only
it's-
people.
This isn't really alive. And look at those nice big eyes. It
But
just-
it's adorable.
yeah,
Right.
it doesn't seem to mind.
And she'd be more of a knifer anyway.
That's true. That is true.
Charles?
You-
Charles is nervous as he contemplates the head in the box talk that we've had.
Well, I was thinking
Right.
more going
Well,
to what
so-
fandom for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this fandom. So it's not that I would do this, but if I had to create a fandom,
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
If you were
waifu stuff,
forced
is it?
to.
If you were
I was
forced at knife
absolutely
point.
forced
Oh, we're
to.
gonna give you $1 million, Charles. You are forced to create
All
a
right, but I'm
fandom.
going for the set of Barbarella.
Oh.
The furry walls?
I'm
Yeah,
going.
does
I'm
that,
going.
Yeah.
I'm going for the girls.
does that much shag carpet exist in the
And I
world
hate.
anymore?
I hate to admit
I
this,
don't
but
know.
For the
I'm,
purpose
I'm
of
gonna
this-
kind of need a plexiglass table too.
I am not even going to ask about
Now,
that.
now I
That's-
want to
that's,
know. I want to know if
need
Charles is
somewhere
going
to
to
take his
dress
spacesuit
as the.
off on.
No,
All
it's
right.
not.
Are you
going to
dress
Go
as
with
the
that.
Harry
That's-
Ketchman?
That's where we're
Oh,
going
it's the
with that.
Harry.
That's-
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm pretty close to that already.
The Harry
I don't
Ketchman.
need much. I just need to
With
stop
Charles
cutting it
as
down.
the catchman.
I can see him answering the door. FedEx is delivering a package, and Charles shows up with fur on top of fur.
Yeah.
Well played, sir.
Would you like to see my
Ex-
basement?
Excuse me,
It has
please.
more fur.
While he takes off the coat and he's got the tufts and it's
Yeah. Right. Right.
All right,
Nice.
John. You.
John?
well, I thought about it, and I guess honestly, it would have to be a show you might never have heard of called Space 1999.
Oh,
I've
I've
heard
heard
of
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You aren't going to out hipster
So what-
us.
So what part of that
Sunglasses
would you
man.
redo?
Mission Control.
Okay, so the moon base
Yeah.
area.
The moon
yeah.
base. Yeah, because I like that. It's like I liked it because it's like when I saw Space 1999, I was always like, space is so clean.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like it's never dirty. It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Unless you were in Firefly.
No,
Right.
Firefly, yeah. Well, and see, that's more realistic. Space is going to be dirty because you got all the dirt, and
Right.
you have like the human skin cells that flake off, and there should be just dust everywhere.
Depends on what kind of HEPA
the,
filter
uh,
system
You
Yeah,
have the
they
right.
weirdest
filter the air.
sensitivities.
If it was designed with a HEPA filter system, you'd probably be okay.
Anyone ever noticed just how, like, wet and moist the Nostromo from Aliens was?
Yes.
Did you
There
go
was
out
a
of your
l-
way to pick those particular words?
I think he's got the ovipositor
Does
on his
moist
mind.
bother you?
No, it's just it seems like but the way
There's-
not only the words, the way you said them.
There's
So-
no other word to describe.
Moist.
Here's the thing, though. If you've ever seen the special box edition,
It's also moist.
The special box is moist.
all I'm saying
Is
is
it tepid and damp as well?
the special director's cut box edition.
What was that?
Hush.
Dishkit?
He throws in some interesting geometric patterns and extra scenes.
It's worth
There-
watching.
There may or may not be an LSD influence in all
It's
of
the
that.
honeycomb
So,
hideout.
Huh.
so
You don't say.
It's not like I'm speaking from experience or anything. Not at all.
Oh.
No.
Well, I would never suggest that, Jenna.
No.
I don't know you at all.
All I'm just saying is, he's got a lot of factors and inspiration for that environment.
All I'm saying is that particular spaceship was very. There was a lot of condensation.
Yeah. Well, it was a
Fair
big.
Is that better for you?
It was a
No,
big ship.
It's like, can you do a hat trick and give me one more really weird wet words?
No.
It's like-
Instead, Seth is going to tell us his fandom.
Damp.
Yes.
I did damn. Well, I'll give it
Seth?
to you. You can have it. It's like
So that's what
Tony Stark's Hall of Armor.
Oh.
That nice circular room
Yes,
that
of
has
suits.
all the
Would you have a
models behind
Jarvis
him.
who would be like, "Hello, Seth. Welcome back."
Oh, you'd have
Well,
to have a Jarvis.
I mean, yeah, if you're gonna give me $1 million, yeah, I'm gonna have a Jarvis in there.
Oh, which reminds me, I need to check my lotto ticket, guys. If I've won the lottery,
It's all happening.
yeah.
Sorry, Katie.
Jen-
I am buying Joslyn Castle, and we're gonna have our zombie compound.
I thought you were going to create Jennaville.
That too. But to be fair,
I feel
the-
Jennaville has a lot of extra body parts laying around.
To be fair, the
Or at
Joslyn
least
Castle
stabbing
has
victims.
3-foot stone walls,
Yes.
So no one can
Nice.
escape.
and no one can hear you scream.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
police can't get in.
They can't get in.
Right.
Alas.
All right. Well, I think we've reached the end of our
Saturation?
show.
Yeah.
Yes, saturation. Yes.
Ooh.
I
So-
like it.
I'd love to hear how people think this first After Dark show went.
Yes. And if they'd like to see
I had a
more.
blast. I
Yeah.
truly did watching.
I'm sure you
watching
did.
this.
I'm
This
sh-
was awesome.
Seeing as how you were pretty much just observing
Oh,
all of us
yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Observing behind his carefully darkened glasses to prevent us from seeing his dilated eyes
Yeah.
accurate.
and just the grin.
You guys think
Yeah.
we're bad. John's the worst.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's horrible.
Yeah.
So-
All those mescaline suppositories, they really mess you up, man.
You know, I'm not surprised you like it up the butt.
That was good. That was good. That was quick. That was really quick. I'm going to give you a golf clap on that one. That one's good.
On that note,
On that note, we're going to call this first Galactic Driftwood After Dark episode a wrap.
Hey, right.
And we'll hopefully have many more. So,
Indeed.
yes, it was fun. So, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Like and subscribe.
it's true.
That's right.
Facebook,
Comment.
Twitter, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.